Shawnee, welcome back. It is that time of the week where we do our weekly roundup, where I go over all of the eyeshadow palettes I used over the past week and I rank them from least liked to most liked. Now, as per usual, most of the palettes I really enjoy, but for some reason or another, I like one more than another one during the week that I use them. So this week we have 7 slots and we have combinations of eyeshadow palettes and singles. So when we get to the singles, I will point those out so you know which ones they are. Okay, so let's start with number 7. Number 7 is the Tropicolor palette from the collab with Sydney Grace, or the collab from Sydney Grace and Tina from the Fancy Face. Now, I don't have the full palette with me because I actually depotted everything and put them in with my other singles. For some reason, I just really like Sydney Grace singles. So I know that even though those singles are from the palette, for some reason they feel different to me when they're not in the palette. I actually think I'm going to use them more now that they're singles rather than how much I used the palette. I know it doesn't make any sense. It's like if you go to a diner and you don't want like your eggs and your grits to touch, and so you ask them to like do something about that, and they literally just go in the back and they just, you know, make some room and they come back with the same exact plate. You know that. We all know. But still, it's different. So somehow, having those shades as singles, having those shadows as singles, I like them more than in the palette. So that's number 7. Number 6 is a combo of 2 palettes, and those palettes are the Cosmic Brushes Delicious Delights palette, along with the Cosmic Brushes Muse palette. Now, I use these palettes to do my weekly collab with Jan Van, where we take a picture of either an eyeshadow look or just something, and we create our own look based on that. So this was pretty fun. It felt like super easy for me this week because I really put a lot of pressure on myself for those looks. I'm like, it has to look exactly the same. Then I remember that no, it doesn't have to. I'm really enjoying Cosmic Brushes palettes. I believe I have all of their current palettes. I feel like they said something about coming out with something else, but I don't know. I don't see anything. But I'm noticing that it is starting to be one of the brands I go to for super colorful looks. Now, number 5, that is a combo of palettes and singles. So let's start with the palettes. I really wanted to use my Viseart palettes. I feel like I don't use them as much, and one that I used is the Bridal Satin palette, and it is all shimmers. But I've talked about this before with Viseart's shimmers. I feel like you can really buff them out to be more like a satin matte. So I use these 2 shades here, and in their neutral matte palette, I actually just went in with this brown, and the other shades that I use, if you can't tell, it's the look I have on right now. Other shades that I use are singles from mainly Copacetic and Sydney Grace. And this little magnetic palette is actually a Copacetic palette that came with singles. I took those singles out and put them with my others. So now I can just use this when I want to create a little like quad. So the shades are Alberto, and that is from Copacetic. Then the next is the Drive, and that is from Sydney Grace. Ooh, so pretty. Then here is Drama from Copacetic. And then this is Longer Nights, and this is also from Copacetic. So basically, these are a gradient of purples, along with some of them are a bit more shifty, like duochrome, and that's actually what I have on my eyes today. So I just really wanted to do a super purple look, and later on in the video, I will let you know why I was feeling purple today. That's number 5. Number 4 is the Adept Cosmetics collab with Heather Austin. So here is that palette. I was just on a singles kick this week, even if it was coming from an actual like full palette. So I took some of these shades in my little kit pack to work, which is just a small, I don't know where it is, small magnetic palette. I took a couple of these to work, and even though it was more like a softer look, it was giving you multi-chrome. I really, really liked it. I really liked being able to use a multi-chrome, which sometimes are a bit more like, they're sometimes a little brighter and punchier, but I feel like this was very much a work-friendly look, and it was just real pretty. So that was number 4. Number 3 is from a person we haven't seen in public in a long time, and that is Patricia McGrath. Now, I used the Moonlit Seduction palette, and I enjoyed it. I really liked the shiftiness in this look, which I think is pretty much what was just happening this week with all of my looks. I definitely used this shade. It was the one that was like calling to me, and then I used a couple of mattes, and I really liked it. I have been on this journey to make sure that I'm using my motherships because I sort of see them as precious jewels that I keep hidden away, and I need to use them because they're eyeshadow, right? But I really enjoyed this look. I have, over the past weeks, gone through all of the motherships. I just have one more to use to do a look, and I'll do that next week probably. And then maybe I'll start over, or maybe I'll focus on the quads, but I like making sure I'm including them in, you know, in the party. Now, number 2 is one of top 2 favorite looks that I did this week, and it was completely with the Blend Bunny Surge palette. Now, this was a very fall inspired look. I did it once without filming it, and then Jan and Erica were like, oh my god, did you film it? And I was like, no, I didn't. So I did a little kind of recreation of it, not exactly, because the first one was just amazing, bruh. But I basically used these shades here, kind of this orangey, oh, and this one too, this neon. It doesn't show up as well on camera, but it's really a neon orange, and I think I went in with one of these deeper reds. So I kind of stayed in the orangey red lane, and I created a very much fall look. And I've said before, for fall, I really just think of like oranges and greens and reds. I'm sure there are other colors that evoke fall vibes, but I kind of lean on the oranges. I really like sunset, sunrise kind of looks, and those typically have some sort of orange in them. So around fall time, you'll just see a lot of orangey looks from me, and I'm okay with it. And number 1, let me tell you how we got here to number 1 before I say the palettes. Now, we all know Miss Natasha Denona is coming out, or has come out, with a mini trio chrome eyeshadow palette. So those are the 5-pan palettes that used to be $25, but now they're $27. And this one, the way she explained it was that the trio chrome, the larger palette, every row is like a color scheme. So there's like a green row, and there's pink, purple, I don't know. There are different rows. I don't have that palette, so I can't really reference it. And so she's saying that the mini trio chrome is like the next row of colors. So it's all blue. Now, I looked at that palette, and you know, the pictures can be deceiving. So I've looked on her Instagram, I've looked at her YouTube, just to see some swatches of the colors. Basically, there are 2 royal blues. One is described as medium, the other is described as dark, and then there is a multi-chrome that shifts blue, purple, and green, and there is like a periwinkle blue, and then there is this sort of silvery blue, light, shifty shimmer. So looking at it, I was like, okay, the royal blues don't look very different from each other, and I've got that covered. We have the royal blues covered in various palettes. The periwinkle blue, got that too. The silvery bluish shimmer, got something similar. And then the trio chrome, like, girl, let's go with indie brands for all of our duo multi trio chromes, okay? So what I did is I took the Lure palette from Blend Bunny, and I used these deeper blues, and I paired them with 2 shades from Divina and 1 shade from Cleona. So I took the Sea of Shadows palette and I used these 2 blues here. I think one is like Aqua Abyss and one is something else. So let me show you. This one is Aqua Abyss. And then this one is Seaside Horizon. And then the Cleona shade is Ciel. So basically I combined these to do this lovely blue look. And I have to say it was my favorite look of the week, especially since, ooh, I just got eyeshadow on my butt. Especially since it solidified my belief that I don't need that little mini trio chrome from Natasha. Let me know if you're getting it. I encourage you to look at what you already have, even if they're not in singles, even if they're in multiple palettes. I'm sure if you have a couple of palettes, you've got the blue, you've got the dark blue at least. Are you going to use the periwinkle? Is it going to look ashy on you? Do you really need it? I don't know. You might have like a silver shimmer. Maybe you don't even use that shade very much. And if you have any indie brand shadows, you've got a duo, trio, or multi-chrome. That's my gift to you. Look at what you have, and I'm sure you already have it. I was going to dupe the palette, but when I dupe things, I typically just use shadows that are magnetic so I can put them and arrange them how I like to, and Blend Bunny palettes are not, and these are the blues that I stuck with. And so I wanted it to look aesthetically pleasing, and I can't. So if you really want me to dupe it, I'll dupe it, girl. It's hard to, like, because I can't get them out unless I destroy the palette. Just let me know. Let me know and I will do it for you. So those are the shadows, singles, and looks that I did over the past week. Now let me talk to you about kind of non-eyeshadow related things. I do like to include like a little tidbit of something at the end of my weekly roundups, and this week it has to do with this eye look today. Okay, so before we start, I'm going to give a content or trigger warning that we will be talking about Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Just want to be very transparent. So if that is not something you want to or can hear about, then please check out of this video right now. Be sure to come back. I really appreciate you watching up until this point, and I will see you next time. So a little context. When I worked at a large university counseling center, I was filling a role as a psychologist, a licensed psychologist there, but I also did other things, other roles. So many of you have heard me talk about the groups, the therapy groups that I created for assault survivors and survivors of trauma. And another thing that I did was I was the director of outreach and consultation. Actually, I think I was the coordinator because they didn't want to say director. And one thing that I did was every month there is something that's sort of observed within society. Different months are kind of dedicated to different things. And so I really wanted to bring that into like the campus life. So every month I would try to do an event that honored the people that we were celebrating that month. Hopefully that makes sense. So purple is one of the colors that is connected with the month of October, because October has been deemed Domestic Violence Awareness Month, National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This goes all the way back to 1989, and I really wanted to do a look for this month, and there are a couple of other awareness things in this month, so look out for some more looks. There's one that is really close to my heart, so I'm really excited to share that with you. But let me tell you a bit about Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I don't want to get the stats incorrect, so basically it is a time for us to acknowledge survivors of interpersonal violence, as well as being a voice for them, because sometimes it can be really difficult to be a voice when you are the one being hurt. Now, a lot of people are victims of domestic violence. It doesn't discriminate across age, race, gender, sexual orientation, social class. It's everywhere. I want to give you some stats. An average of 20 people are physically abused by an intimate partner every minute. So that makes 10 million victims of physical abuse from partners. And 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have been physically abused by an intimate partner. And 1 in 5 women and 1 in 7 men have been severely physically abused by an intimate partner. So many Americans for sure deal with this, this like social disease that we've got going on. Intimate or interpersonal, interrelational partner violence is just not good. So I hope that doing this brings a little bit of awareness. There are so many ways that you can provide, like financial assistance, volunteer assistance, you know, you can donate clothing, like all these things that can definitely help survivors and victims of intimate partner relationship violence. I know for me, one of the things I do is that if I have someone coming in and they are trying to leave a situation or they have left, oftentimes I will provide therapy at a super low cost or free, just to give them a bit of a resource and a place to feel safe and talk about what's going on. So hopefully that was okay to share with you. I just think because of these stats, there's got to be someone in our community that is experiencing or has experienced or is trying to think about if they're experiencing it. And oftentimes physical violence comes with emotional or mental violence. So I just do want to let you know, if that is going on for you, I see you, I believe you, and hopefully I can use my voice to help you. All right, so I hope that some of this was helpful. I also hope that you are continuing to take care of yourself. Let me know if there is an awareness dedicated month that you would like me to just highlight. I found out today from a client that it is also Disability Employment Awareness Month. Didn't know about that. And there are quite a few that I will try to touch on, at least do one look during the month for honoring people. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.